Hi and welcome back to my channel. How are you? Guys, for those who are new to my channel, I post videos on Tuesdays and Sundays on true crime and all kinds of other issues that I find really exciting to share with you all. I need to warn you that this is a story of treachery and murder, and it's quite graphic, and therefore please employ viewer discretion, and this is not for any viewer under the age of 18. Guys, let's get into this now. It was Valentine's Day 2013. It was the morning. A 51-year-old man is shot and killed in his own kitchen by an unknown assailant. He was Ronald Tomich, father and husband, and a tree service company worker. They lived in Linton, Indiana. Guys, this is a story of unbelievable, blood-curdling treachery within a family. 13 years ago, Ronald's wife, Constance, Connie Tomich, wanted her husband, Ron, dead. Guys, these people have forgotten that there is something called divorce. All they want is to kill their spouses these days. Why not take a divorce? Extremely manipulative and obviously cruel woman Connie convinced her own daughter, Alyssa Tomich, to mastermind the murder of her stepfather, Ron. Then, Alyssa in turn convinced classmate Melissa Zitterman to commit the heinous crime of shooting Ron to death. Guys, let's see what happened on that day. Ron is in his kitchen that morning. I told you it was Valentine's Day in 2013. His wife and daughter are not at home. Apparently not at home. A shot rings out. The first shot misses him and Ron turns around with dread in his eyes, obviously. And the assailant stops for a moment and then keeps shooting. 3 more shots on his face until he falls dead. The day he was killed, his wife Connie and his stepdaughter 16-year-old Alyssa were out on a shopping trip. That's what he believed. Arriving home and finding Ron's body, a shocked Constance calls 911 and the police arrive to see a grisly murder scene with blood splatter all over with no obvious leads as to who would want Ron Tomich dead. A break-in? A robbery gone wrong? There were no clues. The Tomiches had lived in Linton, Indiana for many years. Linton in Indiana was a small town where everyone knew everyone and a place where people felt safe and secure, and this murder rocked the town and threw everybody into a state of fear and panic. Guys, now let's look at the Tomich family. At a glance, they looked like a typical ordinary all-American family. Ron and wife, Constance, and Ron's stepdaughter, Alyssa, a very pretty, wild girl, and the 5-year-old daughter of Ron and Constance, Sandy, all lived in this little town in a very simple home. The police were baffled as to who would want Ron dead. Constance was known to have told her friends that Ron was boring and much older than her, and that Constance didn't feel sexy anymore. Oh my God, guys. Was this woman that sick and twisted to commit murder so she could feel sexy? It was also revealed that she resented him for not giving her enough luxuries and for not making her feel special enough. Guys, why not get a divorce and find a man who makes you feel sexy and special enough? He is said to have tried to control Connie with her reckless spending, and Connie had also said to friends that Ron had been abusive to her and to the children. Building a scenario kind of thing, you know, probably. I don't know, guys. I wasn't there. It was also revealed that Ron tried to discipline the rebelling wild teenager Alyssa, of whom he was not the biological father. He felt responsible as a dad, and he tried to make this wild girl conform to his rules. She hated him for that. Ron would make Alyssa finish all her homework if he wanted to talk to a 16-year-old good-for-nothing boyfriend, Aaron. She was not allowed to be on internet or on her phone or watch TV unless all her homework was done. I do that with my boys too, guys. I believe that's quite a reasonable and sensible rule. Don't you? Or do you tell your children, okay, go, run right, don't do your homework? Oh gosh, no. Connie may have thought that divorce would mean she would lose custody of a younger child, 5-year-old Sandy, who was Ron's biological daughter. Connie was a wild woman, no scruples, sleeping around, even having a sexual relationship in her own home with Ron's work colleague and friend, Roger. She was desperately wanting Ron gone and had asked Roger if he could make Ron disappear. Roger had stared at Connie in disbelief. The talk is supposed to have just ended there. Meanwhile, the atmosphere in the Tomich household begins to become worse, and the marital problems between Connie and Ron become more intensified, and they were constantly arguing and fighting. Guys, now let's look at the relationship Constance had with her daughter Alyssa. You'll be shocked. She wasn't a parent to the young girl. Connie was chummy with her and treated Alyssa like a confidant and a bestie, and therefore Alyssa had no real proper maternal role model to look up to. What a sad situation. Alyssa looked at her mother as more like a friend than a mother. This was a very strange bond that Connie had manipulated to her advantage and thought of using her own daughter to find ways to get rid of Ron. Connie discussed with Alyssa all kinds of ways to get rid of Ron out of her life. Constance, using her own daughter as a tool to get what she wanted, even discussed with Alyssa about reporting Ron for sexual abuse against Alyssa. Oh my goodness, can you believe this, guys? Connie gets more and more embroiled in the thought of murdering Ron, and she starts pestering Alyssa, her own daughter, to find someone to kill Ron. Alyssa now had to get to work. She had to find someone that they could control. Guys, now back to the investigation. The police could not find in Linton or anywhere else anyone who hated Ron. He was well liked at his workplace as well. Then a clue is found that becomes a beacon of light to the unraveling of this case. A gun holster is found in Tomich's car. Police wonder if a family member was involved in his murder. They find out about Connie's affair with Roger, and they bring him in to the station for questioning, where he reveals that Connie had asked him if he could make Ron disappear. Shocking. These people are just unbelievable. He said that he had not even taken her request seriously. He said he never did it, and the police found no evidence that connected him to the crime. The police started to search for further clues. The school that Alyssa went to was full of gossip about what really had happened at the Tomich home that fateful morning. The police questioned useless Aaron, Alyssa's boyfriend, and got nowhere. When the police questioned Alyssa, she insisted that it was Connie who had killed Ron. Connie, her mother. Oh my goodness, so Alyssa was selling her mother down the river. How shocking and more treacherous can this get, guys? However, a lie detector test proved that Alyssa was being deceptive. So that was dropped. When the police questioned Alyssa again, she said that it was her friend Melissa Zitterman from school who had killed Ron. As Alyssa's mother had been pressuring her to find someone to make Ron disappear, Alyssa said, she turned to a high school friend and asked her if she could kill her stepfather. After a few minutes with Connie, the mastermind, the manipulative, horrible woman, Connie, Melissa agreed to perform the murder. My God, guys, these are 16-year-old girls, Melissa and Alyssa. On the day of the shooting, Melissa went into the Tomich home, where Connie, the murderous woman, started to tell her fake stories on how Ron was abusing her and sexually abusing the children. Melissa, who came from a disturbed background, where she was beaten and inappropriate things had been done to her, was very upset. She felt strongly about the kind of abuse, as it was painfully close to her heart. She was easily manipulated into pulling the trigger. Guys, this is so unbelievable and abominable. Connie, oh my goodness. Connie had asked Melissa if Melissa could just scare Ron, scare him straight, scare into his place. Melissa, being an impressionable teenager, agreed, having no idea of the sinister act that Connie had and Alyssa had planned. Melissa, who likely never felt truly loved, who never felt she belonged anywhere, was told by Connie that she loves her no matter what, thus giving the lost soul Melissa something she could probably hang on to, something she probably had craved since she was young, to be accepted, to feel belonged, to be loved. She came from a very dysfunctional and toxic family. Hearing those words, I love you, may have eased her own emotional pain of being unloved all her life. She was only 16 years old, a lost soul, guys. Connie showed Melissa the house and walked her through the home, explaining the plan, and then showed Melissa how to use a gun. Connie and Alyssa were encouraging Melissa, saying how she was a hero and how they would be devoted to her for doing this, that she would be one of their family. Guys, then Connie handed Melissa a 38 caliber revolver loaded with 5 bullets, repeatedly saying, I just want you to scare him, and then acted like she was leaving. So Melissa walked down to the kitchen where Ron was standing at the bar. I told you guys he was in the kitchen that morning. Then Melissa raised the gun and shot around 6 inches to the left of him. In a matter of seconds, Melissa noticed Connie standing next to her, pointing a gun at her, at Melissa, ordering her to shoot him. Melissa was in disbelief and instantaneously saw Ron staring at her, perhaps paralyzed with fear. This scared and caught Melissa by surprise. With a gun being pointed at her by Connie and being repeatedly cajoled into shooting Ron, Melissa just started to shoot at Ron, unaware of anything else to do. Can you understand, guys, the situation there? Melissa saw Ron fall and blood spurting out of him. She threw the gun at Connie, who was looking at her irritated, saying, be ready, guys. Be ready to understand this person who calls herself a human being. You got blood on my fridge. She was angry at Melissa for getting blood on her fridge. Guys, are we talking about a human being here or a demon? All this time, Alyssa, the daughter, was outside in the car with her little sister, Sandy. And after hearing the gunshots, she saw her mother walk back to the car. Detective Jan Cruz of the Linton Police Department has been quoted as saying, what she did and what she was involved with was a horrible thing. We got a man that was in the prime of his life, cut down. And then we had this little girl that won't even have her own father to guide her along. But in some ways, Melissa was a victim too. She was a lost, lonely child looking for something. Eileen DiGoggio, Melissa's aunt, had said, Melissa was looking for love in all the wrong places, looking for somebody to accept her for who she was. And being at 16 years old, she was so scrambled in her mind between what was going on at the home and what was going on with her friends and how they wanted her to kill Ronald Tomich. She was a mess. She was a mess. Melissa Zitterman was charged with conspiracy to commit murder and for committing murder. Constance was charged with masterminding to commit murder and aiding in murder. Constance was sentenced to 55 years for aiding a murder and 35 years for conspiracy to commit murder.
Oh, one thing I just remembered. Before I go, I must tell you, guys, that Connie, the mastermind behind the murders, actually had been planning to use toxic mushrooms to poison Ron. She had later thought getting someone to shoot him would be better and that it would bring her better results. Aaron, Alyssa's useless boyfriend, also got a jail term for aiding in the crime. Alyssa went scot-free. Alyssa and her sister, Sandy, are supposed to be leading quiet lives somewhere away from the public eye. Melissa, who was manipulated into shooting Ron, got 10 years in jail. She's now out, and I heard she has her own family now. Connie will definitely die in jail, I think, guys. What a catastrophic end. Never-ending greed.
And total evil. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. See you again soon. Bye.